Hi, everyone. So I thought I'd drop in for a surprise Facebook Live visit. And I know that I haven't been online for a little while. I've been getting so many beautiful emails from many of you saying, "Where are you?" and "We miss you." And I'm so grateful for that. So grateful from all of you. So let me tell you the reason why I haven't been online. Some of you have been concerned. You thought something was wrong. But actually, I have to admit, I have been cocooning myself a little bit from the media and somewhat from social media, although I do still read a lot of my emails and I read a lot of the comments. But I have been cocooning myself a little bit so that I can continue to do the work that I do. And I have so much that I want to share with you. And so I am just going to, it's been bubbling up. It's like, oh my God, I got to share this with my audience. Oh my God, I got to share this with my audience. But what I've noticed that has been happening lately is that there's so much divisiveness in the world right now. People are really, really charged either politically or they're living in fear because of the current pandemic situation, that people are really highly charged. And one of the things I was feeling is that whenever I was sharing my views, there was a level of divisiveness that would take place. It was helping a lot of people, but there was also a level of divisiveness. And there was a part of me that kept feeling, oh my God, am I adding to the problem? And so I kept thinking that things will start to heal, things will start to change, and I will be out there talking to you about all these things again. But it's been going on for a while, and within me it's like, no, I can't keep quiet for any longer. So many of the things I do talk about can be somewhat provocative. And I did have some people say that what I was saying was dangerous. And yet the things I feel are the things I feel. I can't help but speak my truth. So I decided to just stay silent for a little while, which I did. And during this time, I cocooned myself and wrapped myself in empowering messages. But I can't stay behind the scenes anymore. So I'm here, and I hope that what I say today is coherent, because it's been longer than it's ever been. And so everything's kind of like bubbling up. And so I don't know what's about to come out, and I'm just going to let it come out. So the first thing I want to say is that one of the reasons that I've been cocooning myself is because I really do feel that a lot of the messages out there that people are absorbing is very disempowering. It's disempowering for you as a person, as a soul. It makes you feel like a victim in this situation. And this is what I truly feel. I'm sharing my views. If people don't believe in it, if people think it's dangerous, that's fine. Please switch off, move on. But anyway, it is what it is. So my life and my life's experiences has informed me, has informed my thinking, and that's what I'm sharing. Basically, when we feel disempowered, it makes our bodies weaker. It makes the situation even worse. So I just want to give you a few tips for empowering yourself, but I also want to share, I want to start by sharing with you something about like my own childhood, just to give you an example of how I see things. So apart from the experiences of my childhood, there's the near-death experience, but many of you who've read my book and who know my story, you all know that I grew up in a multicultural environment. I literally lived in 3 different worlds. So my parents at home spoke an Indian dialect, and my mother, her English was not good. She only spoke to me in Sindhi, which is our Indian dialect. My mother only read and wrote and spoke Sindhi. She did not speak very good English. She did not speak Cantonese. I grew up in Hong Kong. And so she read Sindhi books. She spoke Hindi, but they were basically Indian dialects. She would watch Indian dramas on TV or videos. She would go to Indian Bollywood movies. So her world was the Indian world. My dad, he did speak English. He spoke English and his two dialects of Indian. So my dad was kind of in two worlds. He did read the English newspapers and so on. Whereas by the time I was born and was growing up, we were living in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is predominantly a Chinese city. And here's the thing, I had a Chinese nanny, and my nanny's daughter lived with us, a young Chinese girl, because my nanny was a single mother. And so I grew up with this little Chinese girl and a Chinese nanny, and I would eat with them. I learned to eat Chinese food. I spoke Chinese fluently. The first few years of schooling I had was in a Chinese school where I had to speak Chinese all the time, and I was even learning to write Chinese. Eventually, my parents moved me to a British school. But here's the thing that I noticed. So when I was in this British school, I was surrounded by British kids in a British culture. They had their world. They read their newspapers. They had their TV shows. They followed their pop stars. At that time, like way back as I was growing up, they in the British world, they were following the Bay City Rollers and Rod Stewart and David Bowie and people like that. And I had my Chinese friends and my nanny's Chinese daughter, and so I was in this Chinese world where they were following Anita Moorjani and another pop group called the Winners featuring Kenny B, and there were Chinese movie stars. And then in my parents' world, because my parents, they would take me to the temple every week, and so they believed in a different religion from the Chinese people and a different religion from the British people. And the kind of culture, the pop culture, my parents every Sunday would go and watch a Bollywood movie in there was a local theater that once a week would have an Indian movie for the Indian community. And so I would go with them and we would watch a Bollywood movie. But here's the interesting part about these three worlds, that what I really want to get across to you, is that they did not intertwine. They did not overlap. So you could have somebody like a Chinese pop star like Kenny B, and this was back then when there was no internet and we were not as connected as we are today. But there I was living in these three worlds simultaneously. So you could have a rock star, Kenny B, who could walk down the street. He would not be able to walk down the street of Hong Kong without being mobbed by the Chinese people. But if he walked into my British school where everybody was British, nobody would even recognize him. He doesn't even exist in that world. If he walked into the Hindu temple or the theater that was showing the Indian movie, no one even would know who he is. He doesn't exist in that world either. This is what I mean about the three worlds did not even overlap. And I was equally immersed in all three worlds, speaking all three languages, having friends in all three languages. So my mind kind of was trained, and somehow I didn't think it was weird or abnormal. So there were these three different worlds existing simultaneously, but they did not overlap. The beliefs were so different. They were so different. So why am I sharing this with you? Let me tell you why. Because as I grew up, I started to kind of realize that there were very different beliefs in each world. So let me fast forward to the time when I actually got sick. So when I got sick and I had cancer, and I try not even to use the word cancer, because believe it or not, the word cancer is a very Western terminology that comes from from Western culture and the Western way of thinking of illness. This is where I'm going with this. When I would practice with Chinese medicine, it was not seen that way. The diagnosis that the doctor gave you didn't matter when I would be with a Chinese, traditional Chinese medical doctor, because they would look at a different system. They would look at whether your system was cold, or whether your system was in winter, or whether you were dry, or whether you were damp, and they would look to balance whatever was out of balance. If I immersed myself in the Indian system, the Ayurvedic system, same sort of thing, but different terminology, but they would not use the Chinese system. Again, it didn't overlap. In the Chinese system, I was encouraged to eat a lot of meat, but the meat that was right for my consistency. It was in the Indian system, I was encouraged to go vegetarian, but I had to eat foods that were either kapha or pitta or vata. So there was yet another system. In the Western system, there was only one way, and that was the way of the chemotherapy and the radiation. So now here's where it gets interesting. When I was within the Western system, I felt extremely disempowered and extremely fearful. And I mean extremely, extremely fearful. The other two felt more empowering. But when I was faced with all three simultaneously, the one that I fell into was the fear-based one. Fear seems to be the stronger one because it's our survival. Our survival will focus on the fear. And this is what I want you to really grasp from this. The other systems work, but it depends which system is feeding your mind. And the fear one was the one that my mind was trapped in. And because I was in the fear-based system, I wasn't allowing my body to let the other two systems work for me. I hope what I'm saying is resonating with you and making sense with you. Because, let me take it one step further. As long as I was living in this world where the Western model was extremely strong, where the people within the Western modality were telling me that I was crazy not to do it this way, where the subliminal messaging that I was getting was basically disempowering and making me feel that I was a victim of this disease and my body didn't have the capacity to heal. And I was getting, as long as that message was strong, I couldn't hear the other messages, because our bodies, because of its innate need to survive, will actually kind of reach for the fear-based message. But here's where it got interesting. A part of me actually understood that because I had been exposed to all three. I have seen people for whom the three worlds don't overlap. For example, if you have somebody in China who is not exposed to the Western system, or you have someone in the depths of India who's not exposed to that Western system, then they would be treating it differently and they would probably survive. And I am not trying to trash the Western system. I want to be clear here. Medicine has a place. But what I do want to say is that medicine is one tool of many. And all of them have a place. And there are many tools and many cutting edge tools. And again, I'll get to that in a little bit again. But anyway, a part of me saw that, could actually see what was happening. So I took myself to India, where I was surrounded, I was marinated in basically, or I was cocooned in a marinade where everybody around me felt, believed the same way of that in Ayurveda. They believed it worked, they knew it worked. So I was basically marinated in that belief system, and that was the only system around me. And when I was in that system, when I was in that soup, for 6 months, my health improved dramatically, and I mean dramatically. I started to feel all the lymph nodes going down, the lymph nodes that had become hardened because of the lymphoma. I started to feel them softening and going down. I started to do yoga. I started to eat in a way that aligned with my constitution, with my Ayurvedic constitution. And I noticed that my health was improving, and everybody around me. I worked under the tutelage of a yoga master, an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I listened to them. And perhaps I gave my power to them, But their message to me felt very empowering because I felt that my body had the capacity to heal. I felt that if I did what they were teaching me and I was learning something, I felt that my body would heal. And so it was very empowering. The messages I had been getting prior were disempowering. So now I was in an empowering state, and everyone around me believed the same way. So there was no one that was taking that belief away or subliminally making me feel something different. So it worked. I healed. And then I came back to my old environment. I probably came back too soon because I wasn't 100% healed, perhaps 90, 95, but I felt I got it from here. I got the knowledge. I can do it. I can take it from here. That's what I felt because I was missing my home. I was missing Danny. I was missing my pet Cosmo. I came back home. Unfortunately, in this paradigm, again, I was surrounded by people who were treating their illnesses, who were treating their diagnosis of cancer as cancer. And they were and they were telling me that I was crazy. I was crazy to do it the way I was doing it. They were forcing me to go and see their oncologist. They said that what I did was woo-woo and that if I didn't actually go and take it seriously, that I would die. Now here's the thing, what was happening at that time, and again, this is my story, I'm not trashing any kind of modality. For me, it started to subliminally affect me with these fear-based messages that all the other modalities are woo-woo. This is the only one to rely on. This is the one to listen to. Now, when I started to believe that that is the modality to listen to, and when that modality was telling me that what I have is a death sentence, think of how disempowering that felt. And so there I was once again in this environment that was telling me that what I had was a deadly disease and so on. And I felt disempowered, and my health started to deteriorate dramatically until I had the NDE. And the NDE was what actually made me realize that it really is the beliefs and the subliminal messaging that you buy into. It really is about the soup that you immerse yourself into. It really is about the marinade you're in. And it really is about what empowers you. It's about what empowers you that actually creates your life and your reality and what you're living, and it creates your truth. It's about following what empowers you. When you follow what disempowers you, you lead a disempowered life. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So the message I really wanted to give you today is to really look at what's empowering you and what's disempowering you. And what concerns me is that today, a lot of the messaging that's coming from mainstream is very disempowering. And this is where I know that people are going to say, what I'm saying is dangerous because I'm telling people that it's okay to go out and not worry about this. Go and wear your masks. I'm not telling you to be irresponsible. I'm absolutely not telling you that. Wear your masks. But what I am telling you is that yes, there are a lot of fearful people there. So if you are someone who's with me on this message, be aware that there are a lot of people out there who are feeling the fear, and just love them and see through that fear and know that that's what they're feeling. They're feeling disempowered. They're feeling exactly how I felt when I was going through what the doctors said to me were cancer and that it was a death sentence and that I had only 3 months to live. And I felt exactly that. And I was exactly like the people who said when there were people that were telling me there are other ways, there are other systems, I felt exactly like the people who said, no, those systems are woo-woo, don't listen to them. In truth, you know that really it's what you choose to give power to is what actually manifests in your life. So let me talk a little bit about that. I also get people writing to me really often saying the doctor has told them that there's nothing more they can do for them, that they are that their illness is terminal and there's nothing more they can do. So for people who are in that situation also, I want to say that just because the doctor has nothing more in his or her toolkit doesn't mean that there is nothing more that exists out there. There's a lot that can be done no matter what state of health you're in, no matter what state of fear you're in. There is a lot that can be done. Medicine does offer tools, but it is one set of tools among many. And the first thing that I would ask you is, what is disempowering you? And I want you to really get honest, and I want you to actually start reaching for beliefs and messages that actually empower you. And let me tell you how powerful our bodies are. So when I was in that state of feeling disempowered and feeling that I was a victim of this illness, and I started to allow my body to manifest the symptoms. Now I'm going to share with you a very simple story that Christian Northrup shared recently. She mentioned that there was a woman she knew who one day had accidentally put suntan oil in her eye, one of her eyes, and her eye was stinging and burning. And she washed it out, and it was still stinging and burning. And for the whole day, even though she wiped it with a wet rag, she used eye wash, she used all kinds of things, it still stung the whole day. Thankfully, the following morning, it was a lot better. But a week later, somebody walked past her wearing that suntan oil, which she had got into her eye the week prior. So someone walked past her wearing that, and this woman smelt it. All she did was smell that suntan oil, and that eye started stinging and tearing up again. Look at what your body does. It wasn't even in contact with that. And what is a smell? So it's one of our senses, but all our senses are sending a trigger to our brain, and our brain is manufacturing the symptoms in our body. Our brain is manufacturing the signals which create the symptoms in our body. So that's how powerful our mind, our thoughts, and our bodies are. So I honestly believed that many of my symptoms that were diagnosed as cancer were manufactured by all the signals that my brain was sending it because of what I was going through. That is my belief, and in fact, I would go strong as to say, for me, that is a knowing. And that is the reality that I live by. That is the world I live in and how I view the world. Just like I explained to you how there were 3 worlds simultaneously when I was growing up, and none of them overlapped. I had to learn to tread in these 3 worlds, where each one had their own reality, and it didn't even overlap with the others, where they even had different gods that they believed in, that they had different cultural beliefs. They had different beliefs of what was right and wrong, different beliefs of how to eat. One culture, it was totally okay to eat with their fingers. In fact, it was normal to eat with their fingers, where in another culture, it was rude. It was just plain barbarous to eat with your fingers. So, it was just, that's how different these 3 worlds were that I navigated between. Now, I have another world I live in, which was created by my near-death experience. It was created by the healing that I experienced. That is the world I live in. And sometimes when I express myself, it can be misconstrued as being dangerous. But that is the world I live in. And in the last few months, I realized I needed to take a break from this physical world and be in my cocoon, and be in the cocoon of the world I experienced in the near-death experience. And that's why I just want to give you a couple of tools to empower yourself. And again, be empathic towards the people who are living in fear. I am empathic and sympathetic towards everybody, even those who attack me or think I'm dangerous. It's fine, because it's not going to change how I feel. I am still going to wear a mask when I go out. I'm going to respect protocols. I'm going to do the social distancing. I'm going to do it for you. But I live in a very different world. And in my world, in my world, we're not victims. We have a say in our lives. We are empowered enough to even create the terrain within our bodies as to whether this terrain is one that is welcoming or not for disease and virus. And we always have the choice as to what kind of terrain that we create in our bodies. We have the choice as to what subliminal messaging we want to allow into our minds or not. For example, I tend to switch off when all the drug ads come on TV because I don't want any of that subliminal messages. And every single drug ad ends with, and please ask your doctor, and please check with your doctor. One of the things that does is that it gives all our power away to the medical doctor. It doesn't even give us an opportunity to check in to our own psyche, our own spirit, our own soul. What does our soul want? How does it make me feel? It doesn't even ask us, like, do you feel empowered with this or disempowered? Those things are of so much more meaning. We have to check in and see what healing modality, what system resonates with us and what empowers us. Particularly if you are an empath. If you're an empath, I want you to know that you are super powerful. It is not a curse to be an empath. You are someone who is so connected with the universe. You're someone who is so connected with your body, but you need time out to cocoon yourself, and you need to be aware of all the subliminal messaging that's going on around you so that you can create empowering messages. An empath who creates empowering messages is so powerful. So now how do you create empowering messages? So first of all, I want you to know that there are only, if I were to break it down, I would say there are only 5 reasons why your body gets sick. So the first thing to ask yourself is, am I giving my body any of these 5 reasons? And it's, for me, the most important one is the mental, emotional, spiritual reason. And so I've grouped mental, emotional, spiritual into one because they're all connected. Spiritual is your spiritual connection. Does your life have meaning? Does it have purpose? Mental is, are you suffering from mental stress? Are you in a toxic relationship that's stressing you out, or a job you hate? And that affects your emotions. All those 3 tie into each other. So is that why your body is sick? For me, it was purely that was where my illness came from. And I don't want to go down that road again, which is why I don't buy into all the subliminal messaging that is being thrown at me if I choose to tune in to most of the mass media that disempowers me. So when you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually under stress, when your mental, emotional, spiritual self is under stress, you feel disconnected and disempowered. That's the key. And when you feel disconnected and disempowered, you start taking in all the disempowering messages, and that starts to affect you and weigh you down. The other reason you get sick is through actual poisons and toxins, by eating toxic food or by toxifying your body maybe with excessive alcohol or drug abuse or whatever it is. So poisons is the other way. The third way is through physical injury, physical trauma. You can actually hurt yourself, hurt your back, whatever. And that can cause you physical injury, which can then lead to emotional stress. The fourth way, I would say, is through malnutrition, starvation. And that is, if your body is not getting the nutrients it needs to survive and thrive, then that leads to being undernourished and malnourished. And you can be overweight and still be malnourished if you're not feeding yourself the right nutrition, because your body does need a certain level of nutrition. And the fifth way is being too sedentary, when you're just sitting or lying down all the time, just watching TV or at your computer every day, all day, because your body needs movement. It needs life force energy to flow through it. It needs to stretch. It needs to breathe deeply. It needs to walk. It just needs movement. It needs flow in whatever capacity you're able to do it, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates, whether it's walking, climbing, running, whatever it is that's for you. Your body needs movement, because movement allows energy and chi to flow through you. So basically, that's the first tool I want to give you, or the first thing I want to give you is, there are basically only 5 reasons. And so if you can actually evaluate what your reasons are that you're going through, what you're going through, and you can heal those reasons in whatever modality serves you. You can heal them, whether it is through modern medicine, or whether it is through eating a better diet, or whether it is through improving your chi by doing more movement, whether it is by connecting with your higher self, by connecting with your intuition. You can heal. And I know that when those 5 things are in balance, your body is not an ideal terrain for disease or viruses to stick. Because why do some people get the virus and heal from it? Because their body is not, or some people are exposed and they don't even get it. So that's because their body is not the ideal terrain for the virus to actually home themselves. And the way that your body is not an ideal terrain is when you eat foods and drink clean water and eat high energy foods. And what do I mean by high energy foods? You eat nutrition dense foods, foods with minimal ingredients. Of course you can go and enjoy that ice cream or that piece of chocolate, but if your main diet is toxic junk food with lots of chemicals, then your body is going to start to feel sluggish and heavy, and it's going to affect your mind. But if you do love yourself, so part of the spiritual connection is loving yourself. Why is it important to love yourself? Because when you love yourself, you take care of yourself. So when you love yourself, you take care of yourself. When you take care of yourself, you feed yourself high nutrition foods. If you're vegetarian, you will eat lots of protein that are plant proteins. If you're not vegetarian, that's fine. For me, it doesn't matter to me whether you're vegetarian or not vegetarian. This is not about an issue about which is better. Different bodies need different things. And you do need nutrition dense foods, and you need to shop foods that have no ingredients except what it is in itself. You know, you need to eat your vegetables, you need to eat your proteins, you need to eat all of those things. I take very, very little in terms of supplements, because I do try and get all my nutrients from food itself. I love to cook. So for me, what has these last few months, to make this easier, I want to tell you what these last few months have been for me. For me, these last few months have been a time for me to change my terrain. It's been a time for me to change my marinade, and a time for me to change my cocoon. I've been slowing down on social media and on listening to mass media because I didn't understand what COVID was. I was being bombarded with different messages from different people. I didn't know what was true and what was not true. I didn't know and I didn't want to take sides. And because of that, I realized it was a wake-up call for me to tune into myself and create my own cocoon and my own marinade for myself. One where my messages were empowering and not disempowering. Because the one theme that was in common, no matter what the message was out there or which side, whether it was a Democratic or a Republican or a conspiracy theorist or not, or whatever it was, the one thing I noticed that was pretty much in common was most of these messages were somewhat disempowering and fear-based in order to gain traction. And many of these messages had an agenda. They were feeding some sort of agenda. So I decided to spend this time to create my cocoon, as I said, and to tune in to my higher self. And what did I do is I actually fed all of those 5 areas that I talked about. I exercised more. I gave myself more nutrition-dense foods. I cooked more. I meditated more. I connected more with my higher self. And the thing is that, and I was grateful to be able to do it. And I want to be sensitive to all the people who have suffered through this. It wasn't easy for me every day. It wasn't easy to hear the messages where people would say that you need to tune into this, you need to watch this, and don't hide your head in the sand. It wasn't easy. There were days that were really, really challenging. And I would say, what is going on out there? What is the truth? I don't know. I still don't know. I'll be honest with you, I still don't know. But it doesn't matter. I've created a cocoon and I've created a world, and I'm ready to share that world. And so that's why I chose to do this today. And I hope that there is some in what I've said that has been helpful for you. I have actually built a community. I chose people to hang with who would empower me. I built up a little sisterhood. I talked with people who believed in the same way that I did. And we created a world or a cocoon where we all thought the same way. We created our marinade. What it's inspired me to do, I know that some time ago, I spoke about creating an online platform. During these few months, I actually shied away from a lot of the work I did because I felt I needed to cocoon myself from the direction the world was going in. And what we've done is we have restructured this idea of the platform. And now I am in the process of creating something that is literally a parallel world. It's inspired by what I shared with you about when I was a child. I lived in 3 parallel worlds and I navigated between them. When I had my NDE, I realized there was another parallel world, one that was extremely empowering, one that sometimes doesn't even overlap with this physical world. It can, but this physical world sometimes rejects it outright by convincing us that other world is woo-woo. Well, I've created with my sisterhood, in these few months, I've gone back into that world. And what I want to do, I now want to create a platform, an online platform that is this parallel world. It's the cocoon. It's the world where we can live a very different life and we can change our lives and we can change the world, but it starts by changing it for ourselves. It's not about going out and fighting what's out there. Because again, that puts us into this state of fighting. It puts us into this state of fear. It puts us back into this state of survival when we're out fighting against what is. It's more about creating what we want to see more of and being welcoming to those who see us and say, oh, I want that. So the doors are always open for those who want more of that. But it's not about going out and changing what is. It's about people seeing what you have and saying, I want that. That's the way I operate. That's always been my way. And that's the way I'll continue to be. And so I want you to stay tuned because eventually we will have that platform. And whether you choose to join my parallel world or not, it's fine. It's totally up to you. But that is what I'm creating. And in the meantime, of course, I will still be popping into Facebook. I will still be popping into YouTube. I will still be out there sharing my work. And I would love, love, love to hear from you. Just love it. And I'm going to turn to Danny right now and to just ask him if there's any pertinent comments or messages that I need to hear before I wrap up.
You've caught me off guard, of course.
I'm sorry.
Of course. There are, let me see, 338 comments, all whizzing by, and I will just read them as they come past. Let's see. Laurie says, I would love to wait. I would love to join you. Amy says, I can't wait for this new platform. Soraya says, need this right now. Mary, I want to join your platform. Clara says, I love you. Kamima says, good idea and so true. Shani says, is the platform going to cost a subscription fee. Michaelan Callan, sounding and looking good. Yes, so there's lots and lots of comments. They're all whizzing past. I'm guessing if you wanted questions, I'll have to go look through them, and it'll be a few minutes.
What we can do, not to worry, I can always read the questions after, and this will give me the impetus to do another Facebook Live, won't it? And it'll still take us a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks at least, before the platform can be up and running. It is recreated the way I want it, and we will have to charge a fee for it, because we do want to employ people to work behind the scenes to help us to keep it up and running, because there are many features I want to have on the platform. I want it to be a world away from this world. And because the problem with being on the free platforms is that although I will still be on the free platforms, it's very easy for conversations to get derailed. For the things I want to do, it's very easy to get derailed by the fear-based messages. I actually want to create a cocoon that takes you away and gives you a completely different parallel reality. That is what I really want to do. And as I said, there will still always be free stuff for the people who don't want to pay the subscription fee. But unfortunately, the way the world is, I really do have to pay people to edit videos and to help me create stuff. And I know that many of you will understand. So before I end off, I just want to leave you with one final reminder. Please ask yourself whether the messages you are receiving are empowering you or disempowering you. That's all that matters. And tune in to whatever feels empowering. If it feels empowering, it is right for you. Don't let people convince you that it's your imagination, that you are wrong. And it's fine to be compassionate and empathic to those around you by following whatever protocols that you need to follow. But remember, within yourself, within your heart, follow what feels empowering. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will be back. And also, I wanted to let you know, please sign up for my newsletter. Please sign up for my newsletter, because you will be informed as to when my videos come out, as to when the platform will be out. And I want to also tell you, just real quick, just a quick story, that when you do start to see things differently, when you do start to connect, when you do start to disconnect from the disempowering messages and connect from the empowering message, you will notice a lot of things, a lot of synchronicities, and you will feel like you are being guided. It is really, really incredible. My social media manager and I have had this incredible train of synchronicities where she actually she wrote to me with a meme. She sent me a meme, and at the time she was kind of thinking she was being nudged to send it to me. And then she heard the song coming from outside her window, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So she took that as a sign, probably from Wayne, to send it to me. Then here's what happened. I then was walking on the beach, and then I finished my walk. I went and sat in my car, and I hadn't started my car. I looked at my phone to check my emails while I was sitting in my car right by the beach. And I read this email from Milena saying that, and so I've sent you this meme because I felt nudged to do it, and then the song Girls Just Want to Have Fun came on. So I'm reading it, and I'm like laughing to myself, and then I'm thinking, okay, I'll respond to that email when I get home. Switch off my phone, put it away, start my car. As I start my car to drive out of the car park, guess what comes on the radio? Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Now here's the thing. It's not like the song is popular right now and playing everywhere. It's like from years ago. I don't hear it all the time, so it's playing on the radio. I'm like, oh my God, when I write to Milena, I've got to tell her this. So then I drive away. The next day, I'm telling my friend Karine, she's more like a sister to me. So Karine, who lives down the road, we go for a walk. We're wearing our masks. We're like social distancing and all that stuff. We're going for a walk, and then we stop at this takeaway place to get something. And And as we're at this takeaway place, I'm telling her this story. And I'm telling her what happened, like, oh, and then Milena, and then I opened the email, and then after that, I started driving, and the song Girls Just Want to Have Fun happens. And then she's going, get out of here. And as we're sharing this, the next thing that happens on the music system, off this place, we're taking away our refreshments. Through the speaker comes the song Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And we both flipped out. It's like, oh my God. And she goes, I haven't heard that song in ages. How did you do that? How did you do that? So this is what starts happening when you live in your own world, when you live in a different world, and you start affecting people and impacting them. So anyway, I just had to share that story. So on that note, I'm going to say, I love you guys. I love you all. Thank you for your patience. For me, it was really worth it having this time to replenish myself. And I hope that you have all come through this time feeling at least being able to see some of the gifts. If not, that's okay too. My heart goes out to you. I love you all, and I promise I will see you really soon. Thank you again, and bye.